Okay, I'm here today with Jesse Clarke. I've just seen him train. He's been training for 3 hours for boxing. You've got a fight coming on 31st of August.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
With,
It's against Prince Nazim Hamed's son, Sami Hamed.
Right.
Yeah, he calls himself Prince Sami Hamed, but I don't give him that title. He hasn't earned anything to be called a prince.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I watched you train with Wally Smith.
Yeah.
He's only 16 years old, but
Yeah.
he looked fantastic. And
Yeah.
you were saying that you're confident that he's going to be a world champion, definitely
Yeah.
a pro, and very likely to be a future champion.
Yeah, young Wally Smith, he's 4-time national champion as an amateur. I think he's had about 35 fights and lost 2 or 3 of them only. I'm not going to get much better sparring than that, and he's got a similar style to my opponent, kind of hands down and very silky. He's definitely one to watch for the future.
And he was strong as well for a 16.
He's heavier than me. Yeah, very strong. Yeah.
And what your coach Luke was saying was that if you could just tame him,
Yeah.
that would be like your ideal inspiring with him. Just taming him.
Yeah,
that's how good he was.
Yeah. We're not expecting me to beat him. You know, that's unrealistic. He's a 4-time national champion. He's been boxing since he was a kid. That's what my coach said. As you said, just try and control him, tame him. Don't let him bully me. And I did that today. Yeah.
So I know your coach was very pleased with you.
Yeah.
And that's your first. This is your first professional fight. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Right. So. But I'm confident that you're going to get some good sponsors and all that, because you're a fantastic role model. You're a fantastic character.
Thank you. Thank you, Pocket.
And what I want to talk to you about, first of all, is what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
So you were outside Downing Street.
Mm.
And I was actually watching your live stream, because you asked me if I'm coming down, and I didn't know about it, and I couldn't make it. But I was like flicking through YouTube channels, and there was Daily Telegraph and the Times that were actually live streaming, and then I could actually see what was happening.
Yeah.
And I could see all these people getting arrested for no good reason, and all the time I was saying, I hope Jesse's not going to get arrested. I hope Jesse's not getting arrested. And then suddenly, I see you being taken away.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened, because you weren't doing anything at all, were you?
No.
You were chatting to a female police officer.
So, I mean, I got there about 6:30, and I met Harman Kapoor Singh. You know Harman and it was. The majority of people were peaceful. For the majority of the time, I'd say it was peaceful, certainly for the first hour or so. And then, look, I'm not going to sit here and lie. There were a few people who got aggressive.
Always a few people,
You know, beer bottles were thrown into the crowd of police. I didn't do that. And then we kind of got, I can only describe as barricaded in. You know, police were at one end of the road and the other, and along the side, and this is on Parliament Street, so just right outside Downing Street. And we were all quite frustrated that we were being sort of locked in like animals. And we know that we've seen protests in other parts of the country, such as Leeds, where they don't do that.
They run away from the place.
Exactly, yeah. So a few people kind of lost their heads. I didn't. I remained calm, as you said. I think, and people were watching on the live stream. I was chatting to this young female police officer. I even got her name, Officer Gemma Willis, and then I started seeing people who were just simply standing there, getting picked out by crowds of police.
Even the elderly.
Yeah, even the elderly.
Elderly man who was saying, like, can you please tell me what I've done?
And there's a video going viral.
73-year-old woman who had a pacemaker.
And there's a video going
been arrested in her
viral
life.
now of a man being arrested by about 7 or 8 officers and being punched in the face, kneed in the stomach. And I went up to Gemma again, the officer, and I said, Gemma, I'm going to stay with you because you know I'm calm. And she had actually tried to get me out earlier. I asked her, Gemma, can I please leave? And she said, all right, let me speak to one of my superior members of staff. And she asked him, and he said, no, we can't let anyone out now, because if we let one out, then everyone's going to want to leave. And if we deny them, then they're going to go crazy. And then lo and behold, I was sat there, as everyone can see in the video, I was stood there talking to Gemma. And
you were actually looking on your phone.
Yeah, I was on my phone. I put my phone in my pocket, and then if you watch the video carefully,
I was actually texting you at that point.
Oh, really?
Like,
Yeah. If you watch the video carefully, I was standing there talking to Gemma, and she could sense a group of policemen walking towards us, and she actually moved me out the way. You can see it in
She was
the
trying to help you out.
yeah, because she thought the police were coming for someone behind me, so she moved me out of the way. And if you see the video, I put my hands up like that, like okay, get past. But then then they grabbed me, and I'm proud of myself now. When I watch the video back, that I stayed calm, because I think if I'd have,
that must be your boxing training.
Maybe
you take all your aggression in the ring.
Yeah,
that's why outside you're such a nice person, such a nice, calm person.
Yeah, maybe. If I had have been swearing and like, why are you arresting me? But maybe they would have kept me in the cuffs for a long time, because when they actually took me round the back where everyone else was, the two young officers who arrested me. Look,
what did they say was the charge? Suspicion of disorder.
Suspicion of violent disorder. Yeah, and I said, but you're all wearing body cams, and there's only a certain number of people here. You've had your eyes on all of us the whole time. You surely you're able to pick out the aggressive ones and the passive ones. And they said, yeah, look, there's a team back in the office that are watching everything right now, and they're getting the details for us. We're confirming details. We're confirming that you are who you say you are. And they actually told me that they would end up taking me to the police station. And I thought, oh my God, I've parked my car somewhere. I'm going to get a fine and this and that, and I'm going to
tow away your car.
I'm going to be without my car. I'm going to miss boxing training tomorrow. My coach is going to be mad. But after 2 hours of it wasn't a really unpleasant time, I must say.
But you were handcuffed in the 2 hours?
No, I was handcuffed for like the first half an hour.
Right.
And then I said to them, look, boys, you can see I'm cooperative. Please, can you take the handcuffs off? And I said, look, I'm a boxer. I've got a fight in 4 weeks. It's really hurting my wrists. And they said, okay, yeah, we'll take them off. And that was that. And then, after about 2 hours, a lot of waiting around and superintendents coming over and checking details and this and that, they let quite a few of us go. They took some to the station who I think had previous records of violence, and they wanted to check more thoroughly. But people like me, who I don't have a criminal record, they let us go.
And why were you there?
I was there simply because, and I tweeted this, I was there simply because I feel like us, the British people, we don't feel safe on our streets. And I've had the fortune of visiting many countries, living in many countries. I'll refer to Tanzania quite a lot because my wife lives in Tanzania. I've been living in Tanzania with her. And in Tanzania, there is hardly any of this kind of stuff that goes on. There's hardly any clashes between police and public. And the people simply know not to mess around, because the police walk around with AK-47s. And if you mess up, you get shot. And I personally, I don't know if you agree, I personally quite like that strong sense of policing, because
as long as it's fair,
because
the people that threaten peace.
Because at the end of the day, if you look at what happened in Southport, I think it's 3 days ago now, right, where those young girls got brutally stabbed and 3 of them are dead and more critically injured. And some people may say this is unrealistic, but I don't think it is. If there was an armed guard outside that sports centre, or I think it was some sort of sports complex, wasn't it, or a dance class in a hall, if there was an armed guard there wouldn't have been any stabbings.
Well, if the police behave in the same way with everyone, if they're consistent in their in the way they control the crowd. I mean, we've seen the police running away from BLM protests, from the
Leeds
protests, from the Islamist protests and all that. We've seen the politicians kneeling for BLM protests. The media keep going on about largely peaceful protests and all that. But then they don't treat the same. They treat everyone the same. I mean, there was no need for that level of aggression. When people were just standing around, no one was throwing beer bottles or anything, and the media doesn't report it. But you've got one advantage, and that is that they can't accuse you of being a far-right racist extremist, because your wife is from Tanzania, and you actually do a lot of good work in Africa. Tell me about the work you do in Africa.
What actually happened was I was working and living in London. I had a really good job in recruitment. I was working for a company called Hydrogen International. They're a big international recruitment firm. I was working in the financial services sector.
We're not sponsored by them, but
we're not. No. I just mentioned them. I'm just open. And yeah, really good job, and a really good potential career ahead of me in recruitment to make a lot of money. And then when COVID hit, I got put on furlough, and then I got made redundant. So I lost my job, and I was sat in my flat in I was living in New Cross in southeast London at the time, right near Peckham, and I was a bit down in the dumps. I'd lost my job, and I've always had this love and passion for Africa since I was 8 years old. Because I watched one of those programs, Comic Relief. Do you remember those Comic Relief programs, or Red Nose Day? Yeah. And it was just I was 8 years old. It was my first time being exposed to poverty, albeit through a TV screen. I saw these kids with nothing. You know those typical commercials they show you where the kids have swollen bellies and flies in their face.
You wanted to do something about it.
Yeah, and I just cried for hours, and I asked my mum, why do these kids have nothing and I have all this? I don't understand. So since that moment, since I was 8 years old, over 20 years ago, I've just had Africa in my heart. And I was young and naive then, and I just had in my head, right, I'm going to go and help people in Africa. But as I got a bit older and wiser, I realized it's not that simple, that I need to have something, I need to have a skill, or there has to be a particular cause I can actually help. And I started learning about female genital mutilation and child marriage. So for viewers who are unaware of what female genital mutilation is, I mean, it is quite self-explanatory, but it's literally the cutting of typically it's the clitoris and the labia minora, the vulva. Vulva is the word I'm looking for. And it's done not just in Africa, it's also done in the Middle East, Egypt. 90% of married women in Egypt are cut, but no one really knows about that. 99% of Somali women and girls are cut, and
child marriage.
Yeah, and a child marriage.
You don't know what age?
Well, I mean, I've met girls who are 8 years old who
been forced into marriage.
Yeah. The two, I've got,
So what are you doing about it?
I simply physically pull these girls out of these situations, and in Malawi I was in a lot of danger. There was a price on my head in Malawi. I don't know if you can see this scar.
You showed it to me before, yeah.
I got slashed. Yeah. So I'm very lucky to still be alive. I've been chased by 30 men with machetes from here to about that pole away, like 10 meters away from me. So Malawi was quite a dangerous time for me, and I was there for about 6 months throughout 2020 and 2021. And then in 2021 I went to Tanzania for the first time, and I didn't know anybody there. I just booked a flight, a 1 month round trip.
I was going to say, on top of all the danger that you faced, COVID was still going as well.
Yeah. So
everyone's trying to isolate themselves, and you've gone right into the middle of Africa.
Yeah.
That's how courageous you are.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I've got strong views on COVID and that whole time that we went through. I'm unvaccinated. I'm proud that I'm unvaccinated. For me, it wasn't a bad time in my life. It was a great time in my life. And everyone says like they couldn't travel. I didn't have any problems traveling, and I may have bent the law in a few ways.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah. I don't know if you have to edit that part out, but
how many kids would you say you've saved?
I'd say I've directly been responsible for, and this could mean not necessarily pulling a girl out, but many times just preventing a situation from happening.
What can you do?
Around 20 to 25 young girls, I've had a serious impact on them not being cut and not being married off. Yeah.
I mean, when you take them away, then
there's a safe house in Tanzania.
Oh, right.
It's not mine.
Someone else is running it.
Yeah.
Basically, get them there.
Yeah. So
once they're there, they're protected.
Yeah. So we have intel. We have these. They're called volunteers, but really they're like spies, and they're ordinary people. They're mamas or aunties, or they're just middle-aged 50-year-old women who are part of these communities, and they simply are listening out for the local gossip of which families are planning to marry their girl off, and so they report back to us, and then we go out. When I say we, it's usually me and a team of women. I don't have an army of of strong fighting men out there.
It's the women that are helping.
Yeah, and yeah, I kick doors down. Or you know, if it's if it's not necessary, you know, I won't kick a door down, and I won't be aggressive or violent. But a lot of the time, you have to understand that when a family has arranged with a man, like, yeah, you know,
They need the money.
yeah, it's a dowry.
Just pay them.
Yeah. So this is typically what happens, especially within the Maasai community in northern Tanzania and southern Kenya, is a Maasai man. So if you're not familiar with Maasai,
I am.
Yes,
It's a tribe in Kenya.
Kenya and Tanzania, the tall ones who jump up and down and stuff. What will typically happen is a Maasai man of any age, let's just say 40, he will go to a family and say, right, your daughter, he doesn't care, he doesn't even ask how old she is, it doesn't matter, she could be 9 years old, and you won't believe this, she could be still in the womb of her mother, and he'll say, when you give birth, that baby is promised to me. But most of the time they're out of the womb and they're about 8 years old to 13 years old, and he'll say, okay, I'll take your daughter, how many cows do you want for her? And the family might say 5 cows, 10 cows, and he'll ask, is she cut? And if she's not cut, he'll demand that she gets cut, and then he'll say, all right, once you cut her, tell me, and I'll come back with the cows, and then she'll be my wife. So that's typically what happens. Yeah.
Well, that thing takes a lot of courage to do that sort of thing. I mean, you're not doing it for any reward or anything.
No, I don't
basically
get
something that
paid
you feel strong
for it.
that. And
Yeah.
this is what I like to see. I mean, I see so many snowflakes in this young generation, and then I come across someone like you.
Yeah.
And it just gives me hope that there's still like real men that want to protect, strong men that want to protect the weak. That for me are real role models.
Thank you. Yeah.
For the
Thank
other
you.
younger generations.
Thank you,
I hope other people see this and you get promoted more. And I mean, we're going to talk more. We're going to do more podcasts and everything. But thank you so much for giving me your time. Thank you so much for letting me watch your training. I did a little bit of training with you. Actually. What did you think of me as an older man?
You've got heavy hands. Yeah, I don't want to be hit by you. I'm staying on your good side.
I don't know if you know, but my name Potkin actually in Persian means sledgehammer.
Really?
So I've had to live up to my name, make sure that when I paint someone, it's like hitting someone with a
big and
sledgehammer.
strong. Yeah. I wouldn't want to be hit by you. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely like you now. So.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank you,
a lot, Jesse.
Potkin. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.